I got the Platinum Trophy for Marvel Spider-Man 2, saw everything the game has to offer thanks to an early code from Sony, and in many ways it's a huge step up from the previous two titles. No spoilers of course in this video, but the amount of set pieces in this game is staggering. It immediately starts with what could have been the final boss in many other games, and it never really slows down. I sometimes, especially early on, wondered how the next mission was going to top what I was currently playing, only to be surprised an hour later. They do a great job at making every main mission memorable by giving little twists and letting you interact with different characters. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is at its best when it has fun with the new and familiar cast. Like, one of the best additions is that the other Spider-Man can join you when fighting a crime and that you can then do takedowns together. What's even cooler is that there are other people that you can team up with as well that also have unique combo moves. I will let you discover those for yourself though. There were really moments where I was like screaming out loud, awesome, this is really cool. Now there are also some gameplay changes and in particular story decisions that I did not really like though. So, want to discuss them as well. No, but it doesn't change the fact that Spider-Man 2 is a very easy recommendation if you love superhero or open world games in general. It's Insomniac at its best. It really doesn't get much more blockbuster AAA than this, with action moments that easily reach and sometimes even exceed the high standards set by Naughty Dog. I was really impressed by the spectacle on screen here, and I also love how they improved upon almost every aspect of the first game. The Spider-Bot sections are way more fun now, thanks to more interesting environments you have to infiltrate, and some new tricks the robot can do. I never thought I would say this, but the MJ missions are actually some of my favorite parts of Spider-Man 2, and there are more surprises that keep the gameplay fresh and interesting that I don't want to tell you about. Like, overall, there's a great balance throughout the story. I was kind of afraid when the early parts shower you with a bunch of new mini-games, but they are mostly optional after that, and never really got that annoying. Like, while you sometimes have to wait for a character to call you before you can move on with the main quest, just doing one crime or side activity is mostly enough before you can follow the main story again. Now, I totally recommend that you do the side content as well though, as it is of a very high quality, especially the missions that have a fire icon, which are exclusive to Peter. Like, during the main missions, the game will decide which Spider-Man you control, but in the open world, you can choose and switch between them at any time, and are also able to do some of the content with both characters. Now, it is weird to complete all the objectives with Peter to then get a suit for Miles as a reward, but that only happens a few times, as there's still a lot of the more narrative side content that can only be done with one of the two Spider-Man. It doesn't always make sense though why something is exclusive to one Spidey. Would have been cooler if it was open to both of them for some replayability, but still the content itself is really great, and almost all the times it leads to a nice final mission that gives it a satisfying ending. I really like the standalone friendly neighborhood Spider-Man request as well, that lets you help locals with their everyday issues, and it also teaches you a bit about New York City. The map is 2 times the size, as they added Brooklyn and Queens, which is great, and especially the more green forest area in Queens helps to change up the otherwise like very urban environments. The new regions also have some very impressive landmarks, with Coney Island in particular being one of the coolest looking areas I've ever seen in the game, and normally when you enter a theme park like this, you cannot really interact with many of the attractions. Well, in Spider-Man 2, it's all possible. I was really impressed by this part of the game, and the fact that there are more cars and people on the street also help make the world feel more alive, just like the new photo ops that have you take pictures of people that live in the city and the typical New York things they do. Like, by focusing on the people instead of the landmarks like in the previous game, it all works just a bit better, and having to ride a bike sometimes also really makes New York feel much bigger than when only swinging around. Although it's not only swinging anymore in Spider-Man 2, they also added the web wings, which are really great additions. They help you to more easily cross the water, as you of course can't really use your webs here. And I in particular love how you can very easily get this top-down view of the buildings and streets. It doesn't only look stunning, but it can actually help you more easily spot some of the side content as well. So even though half the map is the same, the web wings and the various ways you can launch yourself make it all exciting to explore again. And the same can be said about the combat, that at its core has not really changed, but did get some really big improvements. If you are, by the way, excited to play Spider-Man 2, leave a like, that would really support the channel, and subscribe for way more videos on the game, and drop your spoiler-free questions in the comments. We will then answer them in a review discussion stream we will do a bit later. One of the big new additions to the combat is the parry move both Spider-Man can do. You now really have to pay attention to the enemy's attacks and sometimes parry to create an opening, or other attacks can only be avoided by jumping out of the way. This makes especially the boss fights way more challenging and memorable. I thought they were way too easy in the first Spider-Man, but they really fixed that in this game. You now have to pay attention, learn the opponent's moves, strike at the right time. There's way more strategy involved, and there are quite a lot of boss encounters in the game that were all really good. Now, I do wish the overall enemy variety was better though, because while you will encounter many factions that look different, they will almost all feel the same to fight and have the same type of enemies. Like, you got your melee fighters, one that shoots you from afar, you have the shield enemies, and the brutes again, with the exact same finisher animation to take them out. We could have used more enemies like the robot dogs and the birds that really change things up. Especially the final enemy faction that I won't spoil is not that exciting to fight because it just doesn't add a lot of new things. Still, the combat is a blast. It really helps that you switch between both Spider-Man to change things up as they both have different abilities. Miles, of course, already had them in his game, and Peter now also gets access to an ability wheel with spider arm attacks and symbiote moves. There are also new gadgets with impactful upgrades, so next to your regular web attacks and punches, you now also have a lot of other moves to choose from. It is weird though that some of the skills from the previous games have to be unlocked again, like there's no explanation why both Spider-Man have to relearn certain moves when the game takes place 10 months after Miles Morales. Still, there is enough new stuff here, and by the end you will be a way more advanced Spider-Man compared to the previous games. You will also look way cooler thanks to some amazing familiar and brand new suits that you can wear. Like, they did not hold back. There are 68 suits in total, 34 for each Spider-Man, and this does not include the 10 deluxe edition outfits. I also love the addition of color schemes, especially for the older suits, so they still kind of feel new, and I was really impressed by the fact that some cutscenes have you remove your mask with the outfit that you're currently wearing. And for all the suits that I used, it felt very natural. Now, I do miss the gameplay benefits that the suits first had though, as in Spider-Man 2, they are only cosmetic. So I ended up only unlocking 4 suits that I really liked per Spider-Man throughout my playthrough. Because there's really no reason to unlock suits that you don't like. In Spider-Man 1, even if you did not like the look of a suit, it could still have a powerful suit power that you would then also get and could use in combination with an outfit you did like. In Spider-Man 2, the resources that you need to craft a suit can also be used on impactful gameplay upgrades, and they just always feel like a better choice if you already got a few suits that you like wearing. It also makes getting a suit as a reward for an activity way less exciting, because if you don't like the look, it kind of feels like a useless reward. Maybe a hot take, but I would prefer it if they give us half of the suits but make each of them way more unique. We already get glimpses of what that might look like with the Secret Wars Civil War outfit that has unique Falcon wings as the web wings. That's really cool. You have lower frame rates for some of the animated suits and different colors for the spider arms in combination with some familiar suits. Like, I would take 25 suits with very unique effects like this and a special suit power over the 78 suits that we have now. There's also simply not enough content for all these suits. I got the platinum in 25 hours, so even if I would wear a different suit every 30 minutes, I would still not have been able to use all of them in one playthrough. While I did try them all at least once in the previous Spider-Man games. Now, we should get New Game Plus in the future, so that is nice. But yeah, I think it's good to talk about the game's length. So 25 hours to platinum. If you only do the main story, you would be looking at like 15 hours. So it's the exact same size as the first game. Now, length is of course subjective. Some people like shorter games, some people like longer games. I personally expected more content after waiting this long for a new game game in the series. We see it very often that a sequel is always bigger. Jedi Survivor this year was larger than Fallen Order. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West also gave us more hours to spend in their world if we wanted to, and I would argue that the side content is on a similar level in those games as Spider-Man 2. So yes, for me, it's kind of a letdown that you can finish this in a few days. But again, that is a personal thing. Some people actually like that. More power to you. It is also a positive thing, of course. I wanted more than what we got. Now, there is an issue with it as well, though, and that is that it feels like the game is kind of holding things back. There's one really cool side activity that ends on a climax. You're told that someone will contact you in the future to track this villain down, but that will just not happen in this game anymore. So do we really have to wait 3 to 5 years for a continuation of that story? Also, other activities end in teasers for future stuff. While I would have loved to see these things end in this game already. And yes, I already teased it a bit at the start. I don't want to get too much into it for spoiler reasons, but I was not a fan of the story overall. There are missions that are totally a 10-10 for me, especially in the first half. I was surprised. Really happy they did not spoil these parts before launch, but it ended up going places that for me were just not that exciting or interesting or surprising. I kinda left this game caring less about Insomniac's Spider-Man universe than going in, and that's not a place that I expected to be in after finishing this game. Like, high chance this is different for you. I really think this is kind of a personal issue I have. But I can't wait to discuss this further when more people have finished the game in the future. I don't want to end on a negative note though, because Spider-Man 2 is really, really good. I'm sure that if you pre-ordered or are thinking of getting it, that it will be worth your time. Insomniac totally delivered in what they set out to do. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is bigger and better in almost every way. The production value you will see on screen here is rare, and it just feels great to have a game that only has to worry about the PlayStation 5 with some of the best DualSense features that really add to the experience. There's a solid performance and fidelity mode, the most impressive fast travel I've ever seen, where you can spawn at any point of the map, which kinda crazy and super helpful when clearing out the final side content after finishing the main story. I do wish there was more in this package though, and that some of the things they tease actually happen in this game. It's a very by the numbers open world title, and while it gets close during certain main missions, for me it did not reach that Santa Monica Naughty Dog quality level. While you do see that they're aiming for that. Nevertheless, it's a really great game in a great year for games. And this is just the start of our Spider-Man 2 coverage. Like, we got a ton of spoiler-free tips and tricks and way more planned before and around launch. So subscribe to not miss that. A like on the video would be awesome. And again, drop questions down below, and then we will maybe answer them in our review discussion that you can watch by clicking on the screen, or set as a reminder if it's not up yet. I will speak to you very soon. Can't wait to hear what you think of the game. Goodbye.